I just noticed that there's going to be some interesting predictive text attempts at these names. I think I can already see somebody's Miami now.
Mami
great.
and Miami.
Yeah. There was another one that kept Kioski kept turning into Kyocera. And I'm like, wait a minute. I could just start calling him Kyocera, because who cares about it?
I mean, yeah, kinda.
We were willing to like him for about 2 seconds. Hello and welcome to Madoka Magicast, the podcast devoted to the dark magical girl anime franchise Puella Magi Madoka Magica. I am your host Amanda, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Yasha and Vanna. I am just a magical girl fan, longtime magical girl fan, big Sailor Moon fan, and my co-hosts are the longtime owners of the biggest revolutionary girl Utena website known as Empty Movement. Hi, Yasha and Vanna.
Oh my god, long term? You're making us sound old.
Man, 20 years is long term.
I mean, yeah.
No, I
We
know.
earned it. We earned it.
Are we not old?
Yeah, that's
We
a joke
are.
because we are old.
Yash and Vanna are relatively new fans of the show after all of their followers on Twitter and such begged them to watch Madoka Magica for years. And
That's true.
I goaded them into doing this podcast with me where we talk
You
about
did it.
where we watch the show and then talk about what we love and don't love about it. Right now, we are covering the first spin-off manga from the original anime, the Different Story manga, and we have made it to chapter 8.
Which is the last chapter in volume 2.
Yes.
So it's a climax chapter.
I love this chapter.
It's a lot. There's like a lot in this chapter.
This is a great chapter.
There's a lot to chew on in this chapter.
Volume 2 in general is just great and, like, good. It's just really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
I've been enjoying this a lot.
Yeah.
I think more than volume 1, actually.
Yes. Honestly, I'm enjoying this one more than volume 1, but I mean, you know, volume 1 was the story of people getting along, and we're
People getting along.
Can we get to the breakup episode?
Yes. Volume 1 is the story of how Mami and Kyoko were friends, and then the story of what happened with Kyoko's family, and then how they stopped being friends, you know? And then Volume 2 is the story of what happened if Mami didn't die,
Yeah.
you know? And now I'm guessing Volume 3 is going to be, well, the answer to that question is everyone dies.
Didn't
Yeah,
you say at some point that Sayaka is the only one to become a witch in all timelines?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that over while I was reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I feel like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It fits for it to be her.
yeah, it's kind of like you can't have Orpheus ever not turn around.
Yeah.
That's Sayaka.
Yeah, maybe.
The only thing is, I know that there's the PSP game, and because it's a video game, like, it is possible in the PSP game to get an ending where they're all alive at the end, and they're able, if you get all 5 girls alive at the end, you can beat Walpurgisnacht with
Magical
all 5 of them.
fans, you can
Yeah.
have a little hope.
That's like the good,
Little
that's
hope.
like the good ending in the PSP game. So I guess maybe that's the one exception.
Tiny
that's-
sliver.
That's
of
the
hope.
one exception, and it's
as
a
a
forced
treat.
ending by the users.
Yeah, and also, I mean, who's to say that Sayaka doesn't, like, a day later turn into a witch or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah,
you know.
it's like end credits, happy music, and then Sayaka turns into a witch.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Just because they beat Walpurgisnacht, that doesn't mean that we know what
No.
happens afterwards.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
her post victory ennui turns her into a witch.
Yeah.
She
She's
can't
like,
figure out her life once the
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, most
We
most
defeated
terrified witch.
Walpurgisnacht. We have nothing left to conquer.
Yeah.
I die. That's kind of a mood, actually.
You know, actually, what just passed through my head was that clip of the bird flying into the window in Shiori's episode.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that's that energy.
Oh.
That's Sayaka energy.
Yeah.
Even if she's She could be, like, flying through an open field and still find a window to slam into, because she's just looking for destruction.
We need some of that energy, though, because almost everybody else is so wholesome and
Yeah.
Sayaka's, like, good chaotic.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to be a good person, but she's just a hurricane, and everything in her path is wrecked. Just from her well-meaning.
She just doesn't know how to do it.
No. She does not know how to well-meaning. Then again, like, you kind of feel like Madoka, in the series, that's Madoka. Like, you watch the whole series, like, she means well, but shaking Madame head.
I mean, but she's a good Madoka. Hurricane.
Yeah, and then she actual good hurricanes.
Madoka doesn't... if she doesn't know what to do, she won't, like, pick something and then do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yes,
you know.
Which is a good trait. She's very contemplative.
Yeah.
She's so contemplative, her entire series is her contemplating.
Yeah.
I mean,
what to do.
That's pretty good.
Which is pretty amazing,
yeah,
actually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because, you know, people not thinking before they act is kind of a problem.
Yeah, that would be like 39 episodes of Uchina mulling over what to do with the letter tacked on the door.
Oh my god. No.
It'd be like episode 39, and she's like, okay, I've made my decision, I'm gonna kick the shit out of Saiji now. Story over.
And then Anthe leaves.
I guess. I'm just thinking of how, it's just striking me funny how strange that is, that the story is Madoka actually trying to make the choice. Whereas Sayaka makes a choice, but the choice is, you know...
The choice is not. But, I mean...
Which the manga addresses.
Poor girl, like, all of her choices turn out bad in every timeline except the one sliver of hope.
The one, yeah.
Yes.
The PSP.
Yeah.
So...
And I'm guessing they, like, massage the plot quite a lot to make her...
I don't know. I mean, we've talked before about how the PSP game is one of those things that we should someday eventually check out.
Chew our way through.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to it.
Yeah. I'm sure it's one of those things that eventually we will get to.
Yes.
Was there anything that we wanted to discuss, like podcast business at all, or anything before we get into today's episode?
Yeah, I can't think of anything unless, I don't know, maybe you want to cut this out. I did see you guys were talking about MagiReco again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We're having our wonderful editor and producer, Pander.
Pander Palmer.
Yeah. Write some... Whenever we do episodes, we prepare a document for people who falsely believe that we just do this by the seat of our pants and that we don't prepare for these episodes at all. No, we do.
The tangents are seat of our pants.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we do actually prepare for these, to record these ahead of time, which takes time. And our wonderful Panda, producer and editor, has agreed to do some of that prep for us for the MagiReco episodes, just to hopefully get them out faster when we do get to them. So, for those of you who are eagerly waiting for us to get back to the MagiReco anime, you should be happy to hear that, because that means that when we get back to it, you will get to hear those faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would like to say that I almost got very close to forcing everyone to do an episode about the Omegaverse on this podcast.
If there is enough Omegaverse content, if there's enough Omegaverse content for Madoka, for us to do a podcast, we'll do it.
I wanted that because just a few days
Madoka
ago.
The alpha?
Huh?
Is Madoka the alpha?
This is the
God.
Her story arc is her discovering that she's the alpha.
We cannot start talking about this if we want to do this episode.
Okay.
Because it will turn into this episode.
Would that really
Different
be...
story, chapter 8, Omegaverse.
No.
Would that really be such a bad thing?
Well,
that's like the opposite of the Uchina question.
The reason this came up is because just a few days ago, Lindsay Ellis, if anybody watches her on YouTube, posted a second video about her escalating feud with the lady who filed the Omegaverse lawsuit. If you have not watched those videos, you absolutely need to turn this podcast off and go to YouTube and type in Omegaverse lawsuit and go to her YouTube channel and watch those videos, because it is a
ride.
wild-ass ride.
And it's full of guest YouTubers doing, like, readings from, from it, and they are brilliant.
It's and, you know, I'm an attorney, so for me, I'm a nerd. So me listening to that stuff, it's like, what the fuck?
It's just terrifying.
Like, she explains it in a way that's easy for, like, anybody to follow, like, what's happened with this lawsuit.
Mm-hmm.
So me watching that, I think that came out on Friday or Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Me watching that made me go, okay, I desperately, like, I could easily talk about this for, like, an hour.
Yes.
When we record this weekend.
We will have to find some Omegaverse.
I gotta ask Amanda. Okay, do you do the same thing Vanna does when she sees nursing on TV and, like, critique every little thing?
Yes, absolutely.
I knew it.
Absolutely. I cannot watch fictional crime shows.
No.
Yeah.
But I love watching true crime.
So how much was there to critique in the Lindsay Ellis videos? How much did she have to simplify to get across to her YouTube audience?
Her stuff was pretty good. I didn't remember it being particularly...
Okay.
I didn't really feel like it was inaccurate, really, in any way.
I found it, like, a good balance of, like, the jargon and making it more amusing as a story arc. Without getting too bogged down.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that stood out to me as being, like, incorrect or, like, suspect. Right. Yeah.
I was just wondering, because, like, reading legal makes my eyes glaze over.
Yes,
so I was
as it should, because it's all, a lot of it is gibberish.
Yeah, I was just wondering how much of it was simplified to get across to random user, aka me.
No, it is simplified, and she did a good job, like, explaining it. And, like, it's important for her to do that because a lot of what this woman is doing is making these crazy complaints about what's been going, like, not complaints.
Oh, totally.
These crazy claims about what's been going on in all of her lawsuits without providing the full context or explanation of what all these legal terms mean and, like, like, what has... does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's this big, at this point, ongoing joke with what's been going on with what it means to have a case dismissed versus dismissed with prejudice. Yeah. So just watch the videos, you'll get it.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's a wild ride. It's very entertaining. After I watched it, I was like, we have got to talk about this. We could record a whole episode. And how long has it been since we did, like, a crazy, weird-ass, raunchy episode with the two of you going insane?
That would be fun. The videos are fascinating to me because I've at moments considered, like, wanting to do, like, YouTube videos or some kind of, like, extension of, like, that kind of thing. And every time I think that, Lindsay Ellis releases a video that reminds me I don't want anything to do with any degree of actual popularity.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, you know what? Actually, I think I'll just stay a bigger fish in a very tiny, controlled fandom pond.
Yeah.
Because, like, the moment you step out of that, it just becomes so toxic and insane, and I'm like, do I want DMCA takedowns and drama?
Honestly, in my experience, Addison Kane does the exact same shit that every single person who's ever tried to
she's E.L. James Part 2
away from me.
Or she's very, like, Anne Rice also reminds me of that kind of shit.
Yeah. There's a playbook these people follow, I swear to God, because
Anne
they
Rice
all
was
look
the first shitty fanfic writer. Fanfic drama writer.
Like, just the questions of morality that have no place where they are, and the constant twisting of things. It's like almost like an addendum to the abuser handbook. It's weird.
Yeah,
and
it's
if
very
you see
strange.
enough of these people, you'll notice that they're all doing the exact same thing, and she's one of them. It's crazy to see.
Yeah, fandom spaces just get weird sometimes.
Weird. Yeah.
It's weird. It's like I can't imagine being that invested in the deep drama of
the wolf kink community.
The wolf king. Yeah.
You know, like, I'm that invested in the wolf kink community that I have to lie and commit perjury and...
Yeah, right?
And we're saying this as people who have run the Utana community for, like, 20 years. It's like, I can't imagine
in the
being
wolf
that
kink
invested.
community is like those friggin' weird Utana people.
Yeah.
Are insane. And we're like, yeah, those wolf kink people are weird.
Do you remember when
And there's
people
it's a
on
Venn
Something
diagram.
Awful were calling us crazy?
Yes.
Yes, that was funny.
I have had my sanity questioned by Japanese Utena fans, and that
Oh my
I
god.
consider...
Have you really?
Yeah. Well, after the second musical came out, but it hadn't been released on Blu-ray, I recorded both of the streams, and I edited 2 performances together to cut out things like shake, because they were like live recordings, right? So there would be like shaky cams or really awkward cuts or
like a weird zoom.
Yeah. So I cut the 2 performances together to get a better shot, thing. And when we premiered it on Twitch, like a few days later, some Japanese, because naturally they'd seen the stream, and they're like, well, why did somebody do that? There's a Blu-ray coming out in a few months. Why did somebody do that? And I'm like,
because I wanted it now.
Because we didn't get to see it. And you did get to see it, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also, like, ultimately, like, I wanted to show the best copy because I know, like, consumer culture and stuff like that is very different in Japan, but for me to convince a bunch of people to buy a $100 Blu-ray they can't actually watch because you can't put the subtitles into it, to make people do that is a big ask in the English-speaking fandom, so the better the product you can present and the more, you know what I mean? Like, for me, it was more, this is also a way to convince other people to buy in and want this and stuff like that, so...
But hence the accusations of craziness over the years. I don't know, the SA one tickled me because, like, I mean, Something Awful is notorious for griefers and horrible behavior.
Yeah, I would rather be a passionate fan of something than be somebody who harasses people.
It's true. It seems like a lot of work to do the
I'm a member of both communities, and Something Awful has definitely turned towards the light in comparison to 4chan.
Yes, well, it peeled off.
They're still griefers, don't get me wrong, but the last one I was reading about was them griefing a browser game, like a browser kind of World War simulator, where they were basically going in specifically to grief fascists with, like, trans rights and stuff like that.
Oh, good. That's the kind of
like,
thing I want to see.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
This, but IRL next month.
I know, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So they've swung pretty hard that way, and they seem to be okay with us now. They liked it. They came for our stream that we did for them, so that's pretty sweet.
Yep.
Good.
It's fun. But yeah.
So shout out to Something Awful.
Being called crazy.
Future Omegaverse episode. Yes. So if we don't find any, someone's gonna have to write some.
Send us an email or a Curious Cat if you want us to do an Omegaverse episode that's Madoka related. A Madoka Magica Omegaverse episode.
And send us that content.
You don't have to, because now that it's been spoken, it's going to happen.
It's going to manifest either
Send
way.
us in your Omegaverse fanfics for Madoka Magica.
Yes, actually, yes. Please do that.
Is there a different name for it when it's going to be like all girls?
No, it's still Omegaverse.
It's still Omegaverse.
It's still Omegaverse?
Yeah. I'm so involved in fandom that I know a stupid amount about Omegaverse just from osmosis.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And if I sit here and start talking about it, it's going to make me sound like a fucking weirdo.
I know, right? But you just pick this shit up when you're online.
Exactly.
You pick up things.
Yeah.
You pick up things.
And listen, if anybody listening to this likes Omegaverse, you're not a fucking weirdo at all. I don't care if you like Omegaverse.
No.
If you're a furry, if you're any of that shit, I don't care. You're fine.
If you're deeply invested to the point of lawsuits over it, then we think
then it's, please don't grief people over any of what you're into.
Yeah.
That we care about, but, like, I don't actually mean to insult you in any way. Honestly,
to be honest, I think the whole thing is actually kind of fascinating. Like, and I do see that people have a point when they're saying, well, it's a way for women to explore sexuality without the trappings of womanhood, and except then they add them back in, and just the whole idea of it is kind of like psychologically fascinating, and I can see why people would get into it. not my cup of tea personally, but
no kink shaming.
yeah.
Yeah, let's save all of this for
Yes.
the, I guess, Omegaverse episode that
The
we're now
future
going to
Omega.
do in the future.
Of course.
Definitely.
It sounds like we're doing
We are
it now.
definitely doing. Yeah.
It has been said, now it must be done.
God
So-
damn it.
If you want to send to the Curious Cat, if you absolutely must send really terrible Omegaverse fanfics, mark them for Yasha's eyes only. Because I have an interest in really, really fucking weird fics. I don't know, it started in, like, I think I was 14 and somebody showed me some, I don't know, maybe bleep this out, Winnie the Pooh.
What?
Like,
What?
that wasn't even on the internet.
Oh, my
This guy
lord.
just slapped it down in front of me and I didn't even know him. And I read it and I just started laughing my ass off. So, yeah. If it's the worst of the worst, probably mark it. So that
Atrocity
we're not,
tourism.
Yeah, that's my
atrocity
game.
tourism. That would be that episode. This is
Wow.
not an atrocity tourism.
Also,
though.
send us your Omegaverse headcanons.
Yeah. just come up with some stuff. And,
Who
Yep.
would be what?
Yep.
Who would be bonded to who?
And we are not going to sexily read the fic out loud.
no sexy readings.
No.
No,
know,
I think
sarcastic
that is
reading?
probably
Maybe a
a
little.
bit. That's a bit far for us, maybe.
Yeah, that might be too much. We'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see how cursed that gets.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's get started here.
Let's do this.
Yes.
Let's do chapter 8 of The Different Story,
We
which
are
has
reading-
no Omega anything
Yeah.
in it. No Omegaverse content.
No,
But it has Kyubey and that's worse.
it does have Kyubey.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So, if y'all recall, we left off the last chapter with Madoka blurting out to Kyosuke, aka Kyocera, from autocorrect when we were typing up our preparation for this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Madoka blurted out to Kyosuke that Sayaka was the reason his hands got healed. Bum bum bum.
Kind of outing your friend. That's pretty...
That's good.
It's good.
I
but
like
it's also
that.
like, woo,
No, seriously. That,
saucy Madoka.
that needed to happen.
It did need to get said.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of upset how things turned out, but whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna roll with it.
Yep.
But this chapter starts with Kyoko, and she's just kind of done like a random mob. Kyubey is expressing surprise that she survived and in fact thrived without her original magical girl power, which was the fascination that she'd gotten kind of secondary to her dad. When all the dad thing happened, she lost that power and has compensated since with, the force fields and the spear and just anger, brute determination to not die.
I mean, what a mood, though.
Which is a big mood.
I'm just gonna compensate for a loss of power with a lot of anger.
Yes.
And Kyubey is impressed with this, and I guess we'll call that encouraging. And she doubles down, she reiterates to herself, like she's talking to herself. She's totally kick-ass, she's smarter. And she's reminiscing about how Mommy might be doing, but in that, like, not that I care way.
No.
Yeah.
Totally not caring.
Not that I care. Just
And-
wondering.
Kyubey tells her, "Oh, by the way, remember when you used to hang out in Mitakihara? Well, there's a new magical girl there, and she's a new disciple of Mami's." And that's when we see that this is Kyoko, like, having a flashback to when she found out about Sayaka. So fucking Kyubey is the one who told Kyoko about this.
Yep.
Wow, thanks.
Just to stir up some drama.
I mean,
He's
that's
a messy
kind
bitch.
of the impression I got from the anime, too.
Yeah.
He's just a messy bitch.
He is. He likes to stir the shit.
Yeah, Kyoko's thinking back on this as she's standing where we last left her, like, in front of the clock, thinking about how, God damn it, I fucked it up again. I overindulged in twisting the knife, and I realizing way too late that I said all the wrong things, and I shouldn't have said any of that shit. Yeah, so Mommy has just walked away from her gift of Italian cookies. So now she's like, well, I guess I'm the dumbass. So she's thinking back on all this.
Kyoko, stop being so damn hard on yourself.
Yeah. As we keep reading on. She's
Yeah.
kind of thinking
She's
back
kind
on...
of guilt tripping herself. Everything is her fault.
Yeah, I don't actually want Sayaka to betray her, even despite all the shit I just said.
You know,
It's very ex-girlfriends.
You know what would help? More honesty.
Yes.
They're 14.
I know they're 14.
They should be more
Honesty
honest.
is a lesson that should be instilled at a young age.
You know what I'm finding interesting in this? Madoka is less present in the storyline at this point, and it makes all the other characters double down, because, like, usually Madoka is the one that is in the room being like, hey, can we friends, or peacekeeping,
tell the truth?
Or telling the truth. Yeah. So, in her absence, this group of girls just loses their fucking minds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell what happens when they're working in absence of Madoka.
Yeah.
Who is a lot less prominent. But that's, so that was Kyoko basically kind of like, oh, I was so naive and I hate myself and the usual. But she's now trying to convince Sayaka. Like, we cut to her talking to Sayaka, who's become kind of her, trainee, I guess.
Yeah.
She's trying to help Sayaka a little bit. And
She's trying to advise.
Yeah. She's doing the whole don't burn her energy with the familiars. I'm telling you to suck it up and hunt down witches. You ain't teamed up with anyone anymore. Shh.
And we can see from one of the panels that this is the same location as...
Is where they fight, right?
As you know that scene where Homura tracks down Sayaka and she's like, you're right, I don't care about you. I might as well kill you right now. And Kyoko shows up and saves her at the last second.
Yeah, actually, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, this is this is that location.
Dude, it is.
I don't know if it's meant to be like that scene, but the different timeline version of that scene. I don't know, but they're in the same place. If you look closely at the artwork.
Man, I'm in like heavy symbolism mode from stuff I've been watching recently. So now my brain is all like, so what is the author trying to say by making this decision to have it in the same place? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What comparison are they drawing?
I mean, it's not. It's intentional.
Comparison.
Like it's not just by accident that this is literally the same spot.
Yeah,
you know.
So instead of it being Homura that's trying to talk sense into Sayaka, this time it's Kyoko.
Yeah,
trying to do it. But in both, I can't remember how how Sayaka was with Homura, but with Kyoko, she's very doubling down on the I shouldn't even survive if I'm
with
not.
Homura, she was like she was radiating death energy at that point.
She really was, and she is here too. Like she's kind of on her knees and looks kind of I don't want to say dead, but
I mean they're drawing her eyes the same way that they like. There's a little bit of light in them, but they're drawing them. Her expression very flat, and her eyes very flat, as if she is like I think when I played what the hell was that game called? The one that like took over your computer.
Doki Doki Literature Club.
They're drawing it the same way they draw the dead girls in that.
It's true. So she already has the death energy.
Yeah.
And then she's still clinging to her like moral superiority thing. Don't lump me in with you. I'm better than that. She's trying to talk down Kyoko, who's already looming over her, so it's very, like, they're just talking past each other at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, they kind of even, like, reference that with saying that they're polar opposites.
Yeah.
Like, they're so far apart they can't communicate.
Yeah, like, Kyoko's trying to get through to her. Sayaka's like, I don't understand why you even care about me. And Kyoko's trying to say, like, because you and I, Kyoko relates to what Sayaka's going through because Kyoko sees herself in Sayaka. So she says, like, we made the same mistakes. And Sayaka says, well, then if we made the same mistakes, didn't you ever feel like you would be better off just dying and not being around anymore? But for Kyoko, the answer is no. And she says, like, no, I didn't feel that way. And then that is, like, basically the big difference between them,
Yeah.
And
this figures you're that type that makes us polar opposites. One that would be like, I'd rather live, and the other one would rather die.
Yeah.
And it's like, that I wouldn't say polar opposites, because that's like Kyoko's also got that kind of energy, but she's more I'm gonna die in battle if I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like
I mean that's
Kyoko's got that like Catholic guilt thing going on, right?
She sure does.
Like, I'm not supposed to rather be dead. I'm supposed to be alive and fucking dealing with the fact that I did this. And if I'm miserable about it, I gotta be miserable then.
Which is very pragmatic.
Yeah.
It is.
That's more pragmatic than Sayaka is, anyway.
She's definitely the most pragmatic of them, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I actually really admire that about her.
Yeah.
I like pragmatic
honestly,
characters.
like, Kyoko just comes across as just having her shit together the most in this set of chapters. Once she gets past her family issue, but she's
other than her interpersonal skills.
Yeah, that could take some work. She needs some conflict resolution classes or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, walking with a deep burden of guilt for the death of your family all the time is really that healthy for her either.
Probably not. But hey, dying in battle? Yeah. Okay. That's better than becoming a witch, for sure.
Yeah.
That's kind of the irony of the two of them is that Sayaka has all these high ideals and turns into a monster trying to uphold them, whereas Kyoko basically,
decides that her ideals were always just stupid to begin with.
And ends up upholding those ideals better than anybody else does, pretty much, except for Madoka.
Yeah. Because you actually can't be a good person if you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which
I mean, that seems like a no-brainer, but...
But I mean, that's how Kyoko, you can't change anything if you're dead. You can't prove anything wrong if you just die, if you kill yourself or whatever. Kyoko doesn't see the logic in letting go if you can still fix anything. Whereas Sayaka's become very, if I'm not going to be the kind of person that survives by, killing off by waiting until familiars hatch and things like that. If I'm going to stoop to that level, she basically says, then it's not worth it for me to live.
Yeah.
Which, is also telling Kyoko that it's not worth it for her to live.
Yeah.
Which kind of rude.
Kyoko is willing to crack a few eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Sayaka doesn't want to crack any eggs. She wants to keep all her eggs but have omelets at the same time.
Which is interesting because this is still a version of the story where Sayaka chooses to fix Kyosuke's hands.
Yeah.
Nothing else. We'll get there. Yeah. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But Kyoko's not impressed with how Sayaka resolves this. She's like, so you'd make a miracle for somebody else and now even lose your life. Talk about how pathetic that is. That's kind of how she makes this decision, regrets it, and then she's just going to die, and Kyoko's not very impressed, and she does the whole, getting the Pocky out of the container as if it's a cigarette. Yeah. Which I honestly just kind of...
That's a great touch. The Pocky cigarette.
Kyoko is going to be a chain smoker if she makes it to college.
I mean, this is literally, just the body language of the girls with their orange juice that is telegraphed to be whiskey and Pocky that is telegraphed to be cigarettes. They're just
live it hard, these 14-year-olds.
It's like they pulled the imagery from noir films or something like that, with the detective with the cigarette and the moody look and all of that kind of thing, except it's girls and Pocky.
I have never successfully made Pocky look like I'm smoking it.
I don't think you should.
I don't. Yeah.
I think that's illegal.
I've never seen somebody get one stick of the Pocky out of the container all cool, like it's a cigarette, and put it in their mouth, pull the box away, and be like, I'm
but you
gritty reality 14-year-old.
I mean, I guess you can do it with soft packs, but we don't have those in
potentially.
Canada. We don't have those in Canada, so that's impossible.
I think with the way the plastic packs go inside the box, it's kind of impossible. You'd have to very awkwardly move the plastic out of the way with your lips, and it would just be very weird and strange.
Can we safely assume then that Kyoko is doing some awesome magical girl? She's using some of her magical girl energy to pull off this look, I swear.
She's using just
that famous picture? You know that famous picture of the guy with the pizza hovering in front of his mouth, and he's it looks like he's using psychic powers to make the pizza rise.
Yes.
She's doing that. She's doing that, but for real.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. That's the only way.
You know what? I can't get mad. That's she's using her magical girl powers for good by stealing, telescope
and improving her image,
making it look like she's smoking Pocky. It's a look.
Mm-hmm. So you make a wish, and now you're just gonna die. Oh, I think that's pathetic. And Sayaka's like, okay, I guess you're right. It's probably pathetic. But listen, my secret for why I made a wish and why I'm a magical girl is out now to the person that I made the wish for, and I didn't want him to know. So, I ran away, and I'm never going to be able to face them because I'm a bad person and I feel bad. And I thought maybe it would be better for me to just get eaten by a witch and disappear, and everyone would just be sad that I'm gone, and they'd never find out that I'm a bad person. Which is, as we know, a callback to the conversation that Kyoko had with Mami, you know, where they talked about that exact thing.
Excellent problem solving skills.
Yeah. and Sayaka's like, I bet you think I'm a bad person now, don't you? And Kyoko's like, no, I don't, because, you know, she has pondered this exact thing with Mami. And so she offers her a Paki, which, as we know in Kyoko language, means I am accepting you now.
Branch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And she says, you know, just don't care what people think and just live however you want, which is what Kyoko did.
You know, that does present kind of an interesting, like, when you're talking about inclinations to self-harm, being a magical girl is kind of like being given the biggest option for self-harm that you could possibly give to a teenage girl, which makes me think the Sayaka arc is probably not that unusual of one.
Probably not.
Because, like, especially, like, it's not so clear, I think, in this, like, we'll see when we get here. But, like, in the show, I remember, like, it gets framed very much as she's self-harming through fighting the witch poorly kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's, like, that's...
I mean, I'm not even sure that's framing. I think that might be actual text.
Yeah, that's text. But it is interesting to, like, address that behavior in this very kind of coded, hidden under a bunch of plot and story kind of way. But that is essentially what's happening.
I think that
it's a self-harm
your view of
thing.
How often it becomes a self-harm thing is probably going to be influenced by how much depth you think 14-year-old girls are capable of. So that's like, because on the one hand, you're saying that and I'm going like, well, but probably there's a lot of magical girls who don't even think about it.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I mean. Like, that's the way that this IP addresses self-harm, I think, to a degree, is in Sayaka's arc.
Yeah, and actually I really like that that's, like, basically baked in. Like, it's not something that they're having a very special episode about.
No, it's part of the plot.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that, like, that plot gets...
not just part of the plot, but it's, like, almost a function of their powers. Like, being a magical girl in the first place is so close to self-harm anyway, that it's, like, pretty much baked in that somebody's going to use it that way.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think of it as, like, exaggerating whatever traits were already there.
Yeah.
So if you were already inclined to that behavior, you're going to find an even bigger, even more bombastic way to indulge it, and that's what this is.
Yeah.
So in that sense, like, the conversation she's having with Sayaka, where Sayaka's with Kyoko, where she's trying to kind of, like, meet her in the middle and talk her out of it, like, this scene kind of reads differently when you think, like, to me, given, like if you read it as a discussion of self-harm, it reads differently as if you just read it, like, flatly about, you know, the strategic, you know,
the strategeries of magical girls,
death of witches and stuff like that. This is much more of a, like, you idiot, stop self-harming kind of conversation.
It really is. It's nice that they include, like, both of those there, though. Like, you can read it as just the top layer, or you can read it as that bottom layer that's implied.
Yeah, and it doesn't ultimately,
Oh, it doesn't change.
It doesn't change anything.
No, it doesn't. Like
Kyoko's still like, you're dumb. I used to do this, and it was dumb, and don't do it.
Well, Kyoko says, Kyoko's like, don't compare yourself to Mami, because Mami's special. Mami does what she does because that's what she likes to do.
Yeah.
She lives to fight for that stuff. That's why she's doing it, and you and I are not like that. And, you know, don't be upset that you're not a comic book hero, is, like, literally what she says here in the English.
Literally.
Yeah.
Which I actually kind of like.
Funny because Mami's a complete mess, but anyway.
Here's the problem.
Big mess.
Sayaka's like, is the reason you left Mami because you didn't become a comic book hero? And Kyoko's like, yeah. And then the problem with this is that Sayaka does want to be the comic book hero. Like,
absolutely.
She does live to fight for truth and justice, and she does want to do this because she wants to be the comic book hero, you know? And as she tells Kyoko on the next page, you know, I'm not as good at shaking this off as you are. And
which is Fuck you.
I mean,
I hate when I hear that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But also fair.
It's true. But
she
it's
hasn't.
like...
It's kind of like telling. I don't know if this is the right. I don't necessarily know if this is the right analogy. So I'm sorry if this is incorrect. I mean, but
spit it out and we'll see if we can work
it's
out
a little bit like telling someone who has severe PTSD. Like, let's say someone was choking, had an incident as a child where they choked on a piece of candy, and now they have severe PTSD from where they nearly died choking on a piece of candy, and they will not eat any hard candy ever. And now you're telling them to just shake it off, and you're being ridiculous. Stop chewing every piece of food 500 times before you swallow it. Just stop doing this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
ingrained behaviors don't go away.
That's actually okay. Cut this out. You tell me, you guys, if you think we should cut this out. That's not even the example I was going to use. I was going to say, imagine telling someone with like severe body image issues, like on the point of like anorexia, like, listen, you're not a supermodel, and it's okay to not be a supermodel, even though your friend is beautiful and thin. We're not. You and we're not like that. So you need to just be okay with the fact that you're not like that. And then your friend is like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not as good at shaking it off as you are. And if I can't be that way, that's going to bother me because that is what I want to be. Do you kind of know? Yeah. I don't know if it's appropriate for us to analogize that, though. Because that's the first thing that jumped into my mind as that, like,
that's kind of what I thought of, too. But it's like, did we want to put it that way?
Yeah.
I've had to deal with people with eating disorders at close hand, and I don't think that they would necessarily be offended by it, but I think that people might get offended on their behalf. So that's the problem I can see arising from using that analogy.
Well, let's leave it in, and listeners, tell us what you think about what we're talking about. If you have any thoughts on this analogy that we just
because I do think it is a good analogy. It is like it's a situation where,
because that's kind of like what's going on here. Like, Sayaka does want to be the comic book hero, and it does bother her that she can't do this the way Mommy's doing it. And Kyoko's is giving her good advice. Like, listen, it's okay.
Like, it is good advice.
Yeah,
it's just...
you need to get over this. It's okay for you to not be that way. But Kyoko doesn't understand that she can't just give her good advice and make it better. Like, that's,
good advice delivered the wrong way or at the wrong time or to the wrong person is just kind of spitting at a wall.
I'm going to say that it doesn't matter whether she gets that advice or not, because what actually would change her situation is her desire to do so.
Yeah.
And that goes for pretty much every kind of mental problem, like whether it's PTSD, depression, eating disorder, that kind of thing.
You can't just be told, you just need to get over it.
You have to want to get over something like
Sayaka
that.
does not have the self-esteem right now to want to get over this. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Which she does own right away, so that's pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's admirable, but at least she knows she knows the dark room she's entered and is hiding in.
I mean,
but it is very like, here, you need help, and no, fuck you.
I think generally speaking, where that want has to come from is the realization that you're heading for the end kind of thing.
But in her case, I think she knows that and is fine with it.
Yeah. That's not great.
Yeah. No, like, I think you know what I think it is that's bringing us to this is Sayaka is so past the point where this conversation would help.
Yeah.
So it feels almost futile to have it. So it's the kind of thing where, like, someone further out from sinking into the hole might be easier to pull out, but it's too little too late here.
At what point would it not have been too late?
When
do
could
we
you have
ever
saved
know Sayaka at a point where it would not be too late for her to hear that?
Maybe before she made a wish, or right after she made a wish. If she had been told that magical girls can have a multitude of different abilities that aren't necessarily attacking and killing witches, like, listen, Sayaka, your strong suit might be healing people. So when you make your wish, it might end up that you're fucking terrible at attacking. And that,
Yeah.
you know, you might not really be the Iron Man of this team, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible that if that had been part of her consideration, or if she had been told ahead of time, maybe that could have helped.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm thinking, like, I thought, at first I thought, like, right after she makes the wish would be a possible thing, and then I, like, thought about it, and I agree. I think it would have had to be before, because, like, Kyoko's hit it really on the nose here. She wants to be a comic book hero.
Yeah.
She wanted that when she made her wish, too. That wish is, like, to me, that's implying that this wish is also motivated by the same behavior. So, in that sense, you would have had to catch her before she even made the wish, because the wish was already...
I want to be the hero. I want to save somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was already getting too deep into this mentality just on the wish. She wanted to be a comic book hero. That's why she didn't fix his legs, too.
Yeah.
She wanted to be the savior.
Yeah.
So in that sense, this was already going, this was inevitable before she even made the wish, and the wish just, like, amplified her ability to do that, and led it more in a self-destructive direction, because that's what being a magical girl does, because that's what, you know, Kyubey needs, etc., etc. But yeah, I don't think this conversation would have helped if it had come even after the wish. The wish was already this problem.
Yeah.
And she's also disappointed because it turned out that she wasn't the comic book hero in that story either. She was,
I'm gonna say I agree with you, both of you. I'm also gonna say that at any time, Sayaka is the one who is in control of what's going on with her.
Yeah,
and
no,
she
it's
could
still her
change her
choice
mind,
to make.
and it is her decision. So I feel like she does bear some responsibility there.
She does.
Yeah.
And she has but at this point especially, she has no interest in reaching out. Her preoccupation with being the comic book hero disinclines her to seek any helpful input. And in that sense, she's kind of got that in common with Mami. She's got this idea of how she should look, and it becomes that much more informed by being a magical girl and exaggerates all of the qualities about her that, you know, might not have really helped her in the long run. But they both have that very false image of themselves, and they fight to keep that when it's very much to their detriment. Versus, you know, I would say Kyoko, she does wear her heart on her sleeve. There is no version of Kyoko that she feels like she has to attain. She's already Kyoko, and Madoka is the same way, I think.
Yeah.
So in that case, I guess they kind of complement each
just
other.
kind of like transcends all of
that shit. Homer's just like... past all this. Homer had her like
Homer's entire
each
issue is trying to become somebody else that she can be proud of.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Homer has got other baggage.
Homer has baggage.
Like all of these things wrapped up into one.
Yes.
Significant. She could fill a FedEx plane with her baggage.
So
we'll get to her.
So this conversation goes nowhere. She's
really
like,
doesn't.
Whatever, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go hunt witches. Isn't that what you wanted? I'm sorry to have bothered you with my problems. Like, she just gets up and does she does the okay, you win the argument. I'm gonna go self-flagellate now to make you feel bad about how much you won the argument thing that we were talking about.
I'm sorry to have bored you with my problems.
Yeah.
By the way, this is what I say when I feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
I know.
I say it a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
So don't say that.
That's
what you say when you've lost the argument, but you don't care because you're just gonna double down and not actually listen to the good advice you got.
Exactly.
I know this. Yeah. I know this energy.
Yep.
So, the next scene. The next scene is
Kyoko and Mami.
Yeah. So she reaches, like, we see Kyoko reaching out her hand, like as if she's gonna stop Sayaka, and then she decides not to. And then we see that Mami has arrived. And Kyoko's like, "Oh, you're late, idiot." We're right back to faking being an asshole, Kyoko.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to rile up your precious little apprentice.
Yeah.
While you were away. Like, just...
Look, being a dick to people is fun.
Being a dick to someone who pretends that they're morally superior to you is fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how Kyoko sees it at this point.
Honestly, though, who doesn't enjoy that?
Yeah. She's like, "So what are you gonna do? You're gonna run after her And then
it's literally
that's literally what she does. She just runs off in the direction of Sayaka.
Kyoko's like, fuck around and find out, and Mommy's like, okay. Just goes right past her.
Yep.
But she still thinks it's going to be, like, she's like, fine, I guess you're going to go choose Sayaka over me. I knew it.
Yeah.
This sucks. So it's really like, Kyoko was just talking to herself the whole time, and Sayaka didn't listen, and Kyoko didn't listen.
Kyoko does kind of recognize that Mommy's in denial here.
Oh yeah. Well, she knows. She knows, but she doesn't know what to do with it. She's like,
Now what?
Kyoko's the Sanji of this story.
Yeah.
She's very aware of what everybody else's shit is, but she's such a fucking disaster that she can't actually help any good change. Yeah. She's the Sanji
asshole child that there's no...
Yep.
She just can't affect anything.
She's actually got really good insight and awareness about what motivates the people around her, but she's just so dumb and angry and ineffectual that she doesn't change anything and just doubles down on all her dumb toxic crap, and it's she's the Sanji.
She is.
She'll speak truth to power and all of that good stuff, and then she'll face plant.
Maybe this is more palatable. She's kind of like the Nanami of the story.
That's more palatable, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it would be.
Don't compare Kyoko to the guy who slaps women.
Alright, fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Nanami.
Those are both monsters Toga created.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Either way, Kyoko needs to be kept away from Toga.
Ooh,
obviously,
no, let's not.
Is what we're saying here.
Let's not.
But yeah, so she's disaster guilt trip, and we smash cut to that Akio Tower Witch,
Elsa Maria.
Yes, I couldn't remember the name, so
Elsa
I just
Maria,
called it Akio Tower Witch.
I think that's what I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure. It's her name is Elsa Maria, the black and white witch.
Yes,
yeah.
That is honestly one of my favorite scenes in the show, so I was hyped when we got here.
Looks
the way she wails.
Looks great in comic book form.
Yeah. But it's all, and it's a similar sort of sequence too. This one actually, no, because Sayaka doesn't seem to be even remotely enraged right now. She's more just getting her ass kicked. I think I even refer to it as Shibari.
She is, this is that fight basically where it's kind of like, a multi-headed, it's kind of like a hydra with multiple heads, but the heads are also kind of like tree branches.
Coming off of the top of the tower.
Playing this much less like she's deliberately getting hurt here.
The manga doesn't do the whole, like, story detail of that she can handle more violence because of her healing ability. They don't really get into that.
Yeah. She's not doing the pain suppression thing here that she's doing in the anime.
Do you think that that's excluded because it's not here, or because they're assuming that we already know that it's here?
I think she's not doing that right now.
Yeah, I think she's not doing it because she just seems to be look, there's a panel where she's gotten all shibari'd up by these, like, tentacles head things, and she's being, like, held up in midair, and there's a panel of her face with her, like, dead eyes and stuff, and it's big Anthe in episode 39 energy.
Yeah.
Where she's just, like, strung up by this witch, and this witch is just owning. She doesn't appear to be putting up a fight at all.
Actually, no. You know what? That's Anthe in first ED.
Oh yeah, it is.
Anthe in first ED,
and in both cases, it's just that she's just passively
resignation.
Yeah,
just like I'm just
because
it's just resignation.
If you remember in the anime, the reason she starts turning off the pain. Is because she's trying to keep up with Kyoko and stay as competent as Kyoko. Here, she's in full self-harm mode. So why would she be? Why would she be trying to suppress any pain that she's feeling? You know,
exactly.
She's punishing herself here. So
exactly.
Yeah.
In the series, it's framed more as like, I don't care what happens to my humanity as long as I win.
Yeah.
Like, she's not suicidal per se. She's more
reckless.
Reckless. My body has no value anymore, so I'm going to just use it for maximum effect.
The nuanced difference between suicidal and self-destructive.
Yeah, I would say so. And especially in the series case, that goes back to the whole, like, because there's a lot of things she says in the series about how, my body is worthless now, I'm just a zombie, because at this point she's found out about what her soul gen is.
That entire arc was framed so
creepy. They simplify it a lot here. And I think they take away some of those elements and go straight for She doesn't know what the soul gem does. She doesn't know that she's lost her soul, per se. This is just her being absolutely, like, suicidal with no rage behind it.
Yeah.
Because the series had a rage, and this doesn't. She's just passively... Even, like, other panels that have her in it, she'll be, like, tilted back, or... Like, it's just obvious that she's not really trying very hard. She doesn't want to live.
Yeah, so she's all tied up.
Yeah.
We see that there's pointy, sharp branches and gaping mouths coming at her. It's basically, she's about to die, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, there's all these ribbons, and Mommy shows up and frees her.
Like a comic book hero.
Yep, comic book hero. And it looks very cool. She's in black and white silhouette, you know, just matching the aesthetic of the witch.
I like that pose.
It is a very cool pose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Mommy's like, you know, leave this to me. I want to go back to the others with you together. You're going to tell them the truth. And Sayaka's like, no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to turn into the bad person. I don't want to turn into the villain. I don't want the person that I care about to learn how much of a bad person I am. And I don't want to turn into a cheater and a faker who only shows people the good side of myself and never shows people the bad parts of myself. And if I have to make a decision, then I feel like I should just run away and disappear.
This is very internally consistent with how, like, polarized her
views
are.
Yeah.
She's very black and white. It's all or nothing. She's either gonna go be the arch nemesis of every person she encounters, or she's going to be the perfect hero, and there's absolutely no middle ground. There's no you can just be a person. Yeah. She has to be a comic book hero, or she has to be a comic book villain, and if she can't be one of those things, what's the point? Death flip, I'll just die.
Yes.
Guess I'll die.
Guess I'll die.
Like, literally, guess I'll die.
And poor Mommy continues... poor Mommy continues...
She trying.
Continues her streak of trying to say the right thing, and unfortunately, saying the very, very wrong thing. You should not have said.
It's true.
What does she choose to say? She decides to say, oh, but Sayaka, it's okay. If you want to just cheat and be a faker, then I think you should just cheat and be a faker.
You're valid.
That is essentially the advice that she gives her, and that's kind of the beginning of the end here.
Mm-hmm.
She says, you know what? If you don't want to share, then keeping quiet about the bad side of yourself is fine. I don't see anything wrong with doing that, about only telling people about the good parts of yourself, because that's what I've been doing this entire time. And Sayaka's kind of stunned to hear this, because this is not her image of Mommy.
At all.
Yeah,
she has no insight.
Mommy's says to her, if you see me as a serious, cool senpai who fights for justice and has everything figured out, then you do not understand me. I never, I never wanted to be a fighter for justice. I just didn't want to be alone and on my own and by myself. So,
I'm gonna stop living that life.
Yeah, I've always been scared of people not liking me, and I just pretended to be serious and happy so that people would, like, stay around me. And I'm gonna stop. Yeah, like you said, like, I think I'm gonna stop doing that now.
And so, like, yeah, she has this growth moment where she's decided, I want you to stay with me for my sake. And so basically the same sequence that she has with Madoka in the series.
Yeah,
she's attaching to Sayaka.
She's trying. She's saying, like, I will accept you exactly as you are. Because I've decided that I'm not going to be a faker anymore. What I really want is for people to just accept me the way I am. Which is very healthy and good.
It's great.
It's so the way she frames it. So Sayaka just bad.
Shits the entire bed.
Oh right God, does it backfire?
Seriously. So minor change in framing here could have fixed the whole thing. Sayaka, your friends will understand.
Yeah.
Your friends will love you anyway. Everybody has their flaws. Even I have my flaws. Let's just be flawed together, kind of thing.
You know what? And this is a universal mistake everyone makes all the time. Mommy is trying to help by creating a connection between her and the person she's trying to help, but in doing so, she has made this entire 2 pages all about her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, she's trying to be inspiring or she's trying to help, but she's inadvertently reframed all of the help as, you know, like when they say that when someone's venting to you, the worst thing you can do is be like, oh yeah, me too. Like, that's not what you're there for. You're there to, like, listen and understand.
That's a really delicate balance.
It's a delicate balance to strike, because if you're always just like, oh yeah, me too, it doesn't, that makes it again about you.
The conversation back to,
and that's what Mami did, is she took this moment and decided, I'm gonna, like, open up, and hopefully that helps, but in doing so, she's really reframed this as being about her.
Instead hey Sayaka, instead of you having a growth moment, how about if I have a growth moment?
I have a growth moment. But it is a very significant growth moment, unfortunately.
It is.
She's like, I'm gonna stop being, you know, big senpai now, because I need to be more honest with who I am. And Sayaka goes, No. That's not the Mami I wanted.
Yeah. Mommy says, like, listen, like, she keeps going, like, it's not over. I mean, we already know this, as we've said, this is not gonna end well, but she's like, she kind of keeps digging the hole. She says, I'm not asking you to do it for yourself, I'm asking you to do it for me. If you don't forgive yourself, then I'm gonna stop being a hero. So she connects her vulnerability to Sayaka's. Yeah. And Sayaka's like, no. Sayaka's like, no, this isn't right. This isn't the Mami that I look up to. The Mami that I look up to... I don't want
a vulnerable human.
The Mami that I look up to is a hero. She's my senpai. She's teaching me. That's the entire reason I didn't want to work with you, because I was holding you back. Mm-hmm. And now you're saying this. This doesn't make any sense. Why do you actually really want me to work with you, you know? Mm-hmm. And she's like, do you... And Mommy's like, yeah, of course I do. And,
I don't think there's a resolution here so much as they just decide to trauma bond.
Like, for a second, like, you think that might be okay? You think they're kind of maybe gonna be alright? Like, she, you know, Sayaka says, okay, you win. I gotta tell you off, and, you know, but honestly, I'm happy to know that I'm needed. And poor Mami is crying. We see that she's been crying through all of this.
Well, this is the line, this is Mami's moment in the show.
Yeah.
Not Sayaka's. She's the one that says I'm happy to know that I'm needed. Mm-hmm. And I actually got, like, really confused and had to, like, stare at this panel a minute to figure out who was actually saying that line, because I thought it was Mami talking.
It's
but
not very
it's
clear.
not. It's Sayaka doing the I'm happy to know that I'm needed, which is... That's another one of those phrases that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, whenever someone says that, they're about to guilt trip you. That's like old Italian grandma guilt trip energy.
Something's about to happen between... something's about to happen there.
I'm just glad to know I'm needed when you call me once a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's that shit.
And
so...
Mommy's like, Mommy basically thinks to herself, that's it, and then I won. And she's like, okay, well then let's go home. Madoka's waiting for us.
Let's go home and have
a cup of tea.
I just had another
I'll make some cake. And Sayaka just smiles and says thank you.
Yeah.
And I just had another terrible idea. What if magical girls but Italian grandmothers?
I am not familiar enough with Italian grandfathers.
Grandmothers.
Oh, grandmothers.
Passive aggressive, and
we just watched The Sopranos, so we're thinking
fucking Livia Soprano as a magical girl is terrifying.
Look, there are plenty of cultures that value the passive aggressive, miserable old lady matriarch that just makes life terrible.
Yeah, I'm not saying specifically, but like
but it's that energy.
That stereotype.
I think
that's almost as bad as boomer magical.
That would have to be like a story where you had like...
I would read that story.
I would read it. Is there an adult magical girl story coming out somewhere?
I don't know.
There's someone making a show or something right now.
I would like to see old lady magical girls. So.
Yeah, do any of these
I think that is a show coming out. Or it came out, or it's coming out of like a middle-aged girl.
I just had to interrupt because I was picturing Livia Soprano with like magical girl powers, and it was awful. I don't know if you've seen The Sopranos, but Livia Soprano is actually the devil.
Even more cursed fucking Z.
I have not seen The Sopranos.
It's good.
It's good, but it is not like this.
It's actually, I would say it's one of the stories that I would put up with Utena and Madoka and things like that for like the amount of symbolism and stuff that you can like dig your brain into.
It's obviously a very different genre, but it's the same kind of... You can enjoy it on multiple levels.
Oh,
you can watch Madoka or Utena and just be like, ooh, magical girls, pew pew. You can watch Sopranos and just be like, ooh, a mob show, pew pew. But if you also want to dig into their miserable innards and be like, this is a Faust reference, and this is... The Sopranos gives you that as well.
Like, each of these shows, which is really weird because we're comparing literally The Sopranos to anime here, but also the shows are very driven by an internal ideology. Mm-hmm. And in Sopranos, it's the importance of connections to kind of stave off existential despair.
In capitalism.
Yeah, in capitalism.
Yeah, magical girls.
So it's got the same kind of,
but same message almost.
Yeah, internal like logic and themes that both Madoka and Utena exhibit. So it's definitely worth watch. It's one of the few series I've finished all the way now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess that's why we're thinking about it.
But yeah, anyway. So
this scene ends with like a thank you, Mami-san, that's very foreboding. Like it's one of those shots where it's just her mouth and not her eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mami's like, let's go home. And instead of Sayaka being like, yeah, Sayaka's like, thank you, Mami-san. And we don't see her eyes. And then we cut away to Kyoko and Homura, and they kind of like, they sense something has happened.
They look like they're in that like that alley where there's that fight with Sayaka and Kyoko.
Yeah.
It's that like very kind of plain background, but it's a narrow space.
Yeah, Kyoko's soul gem is glowing, so there's like it kind of implied like picking up a witch, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
she's getting paged.
Yeah. Homer is like, if you're thinking of going after Mami and Sayaka, I think you should probably not do that.
They're dead.
Yeah. And Kyoko's like, why are you asking me that? And Homer's doing her Homura thing where she's like,
cryptic and aware.
It's too late for them, so you should probably not waste your time. No one ever listens to her when she tells them that, but
No. Well, she doesn't exactly qualify all of this doomy.
No, she usually doesn't explain herself.
Honestly, she's probably tired of explaining.
Yeah.
I would imagine she tried many times to explain.
She's just skipping. Yeah. She's skipping the conversation. She's just like, you know what? I'm done. We're done explaining because I'm just gonna have to reset this probably anyway. So. But she does try to help. She's like, you know what? You don't want to go over there. They're lost causes. Kyoko does not listen. But there's only that panel, and then it switches to another scene. Like this, the end here kind of switches across a few scenes pretty quickly. So that's like 2 pages.
Probably like, you know how when you're building tension
the climax.
Scene, you're like switching from shot to shot to shot kind of thing in a television show. It's kind of like that. So you have like a couple panels where that happens, and then you switch to another panel, and now we're Kyosuke and Hitomi walking in the rain, and Kyosuke's trying to get at his umbrella. Hitomi is offering to open it for him, and maybe I should carry the umbrellas, which I'm guessing is some sort of like major concession for an adult, for like a man to make, to let the woman like hold the umbrella. So that's like, oh no, I can't do that. I don't know. I think we would have to have more cultural knowledge on that, because
he seems to be attributing it as to like thinking of it as his job.
Yeah.
Or it could just be him. Mm-hmm. He says, like, I want to be able to do things for myself. So it could just also be like I'm recovering and I'm still using crutches, but I want to be able to walk and hold an umbrella.
He wants to be more independent, but also he is recalling that his hands were fixed by somebody else.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what he's told. So he's beginning to start wondering whether that's true or not. Mm-hmm. But then we smash cut again to Madoka, who's also running in the rain. She's looking for Mami and Sayaka and doesn't seem to be finding them.
The way her hair is drawn there, it looks like it's up in a single ponytail in the back until you examine it.
Yeah, it almost does. It's kind of drawn weird. It's kind of
cute. I would like to see
single
Madoka,
ponytail
done that way.
It would be a look.
Yeah.
But she hasn't been able to find them, and she's worried because Sayaka's been acting weird. So she's aware something is wrong, but she hasn't figured it out what, and she's trying to find them. Mm-hmm. Doesn't seem to be finding them. Smash cut to big industrial area.
Smash cut to Kyubey looming.
Kyubey is doing a looming, which, is always...
Yeah, that's always a great sign.
Yeah.
That's always good.
So he's like, it seems you got out of the witch labyrinth unharmed. And Mommy is laying on her back on like the dirty cement in the rain,
looking
just, like,
owned,
staring at the sky.
Yep,
with the no eyes,
with the dead eyes again.
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
And Kyubey's like, "Oh, are you thinking that you want to say that you thought you'd come here to help Sayaka, but you got something that you didn't expect? Because that's only natural because you've seen something that you were never supposed to see."
Thanks, Kyubey.
Yeah. And he's like, of course he does his shit where it's like, of course I saw this coming. I knew that Sayaka was going to hatch sooner or later.
This hits harder though than I think it does in the series.
Yeah.
Because from here he explains it as this was an inevitable result of the decisions that were being made here. What happens when you overflood the market with magical girls when there's a finite supply of witches that you exacerbate by not letting familiars hatch into witches? So
you caused this.
You caused this. I thought of like, is Kyubey some sort of evolutionary capitalist? Because
a bit.
Like that's how this is getting framed. He's like, well, you see, flooded the market with magical girls, which clearly Kyubey had nothing to do with.
The hand of the free market acted, is what Kyubey is saying.
And you should have been better at managing your resources.
He's not a evolutionary.
He's a landlord.
Capitalist. He's an evolutionary libertarian.
Yeah. He's like, I predicted this because what you're saying, like, we've got too many magical girls in this town. You never rethought your stance on eliminating familiars. So even though you didn't really understand the entire story here of what happens with magical girls and familiars, you had to have known.
Kyubey, why didn't they understand? I wonder who could have fixed that.
You had to have known that there was an economy here that wasn't going to be sustainable with grief seeds.
Wow, Kyubey, blaming 14-year-old girls for not understanding how markets work.
Literally, I'm gonna blame you because I didn't tell you everything.
Victim blame the shit out of that, my friend, I guess.
Poor Mommy, at this point, is still, like, in denial.
We're
learning that's her main coping mechanism here, is denial. Because the first thing she says in response to all of this that we've seen happen is, why did Miki-san turn into a witch? And Kyubey's like, you don't need to really ask me that, do you?
I wonder what the actual translation of that is, because he literally did just explain all of that to her, so I'm wondering if the wording is a little different in Japanese, such that it's...
That could have been, you don't truly need to ask. It could have been, you knew all along. It could have been...
I mean, like...
No.
Her question specifically could have been something more like, what was the cause of Miki turning into a witch? What, like, not necessarily just a why, but like, what
I don't know. I think
the way this panel gets drawn, like she's facing away on her knees in the rain. I got the impression she already knows the answer, and this is her flagellating herself.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, the wording. I would be interested to know what that was in Japanese, because it seems like maybe there's some context missing from her question.
Yeah, it does seem like a very simple question to ask.
I don't know. Yes, I agree. I do see what you guys are saying, but I also think that maybe she's asking because
it also does,
because he doesn't come out and say magical girls are witches. Like, he doesn't come out and say it.
That's true. Yeah.
And she might be clinging to that last bit of denial that she's got. Like, like, I'm gonna straight up ask you now, Kyubey. Like, why did that just happen?
What did this?
No, it's just something I would be interested to know what the Japanese, like, what the connotations of the words in Japanese were, that kind of thing.
Because it's kind of like, is she asking if this is inevitable? Is she asking, did I trigger this? Like, and also implicitly asking, is this my fate also? Like, it's a loaded question, but when he answers, he's perfectly content to twist the knife the way she wants it, clearly, to be twisted. Yeah. Like, it's, to me, that just comes across as, like, very... I know this is going to hurt to hear, but I need to hear it anyway. And she's asking absolutely the wrong person for that, because he's literally there to drive her insane. And that hasn't sunk in yet.
Yeah, he doesn't even give her the correct answer. Instead, he says, oh, well, what turned her into a witch was you and Kyoko and Homura, of course. It's your fault.
3 of you.
Yeah. And that's the end of the chapter.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's all your fault.
That's it.
You terrible people.
Yeah. So, hooray! Happy. What a happy and bright magical girl story.
I love, I know, it's so cute. What a cute, happy cover, and cute misery and despair and lying bitch Kyubey.
I really love that chapter a lot.
Oh, what did I write? Oh my god, I was like half asleep. Mami asks exactly what happened, and Kyubey dramatically across multiple panels, victim blames the magical girls and just sort of dodges that he's the fucking World Bank of magical girls. So if the market got unnecessarily flooded with them, it's actually entirely his fault and not theirs. But hey, whatever, it's not the first time a shitty white guy has blamed the poors for their failure to thrive under a magical girl eat magical girl system. So...
yeah.
I guess I'm thinking about capitalism a lot for some reason in 2020.
I mean, you know, what with the election and everything.
Yeah, it's like 10 days from the election, so everything's... But yeah, like, fuck you, Kyubey.
This episode is... There's a good chance that this will come out after the election.
After the election.
But we will be
releasing this to the charred cinders.
Oh god.
Hello to the new world.
Hello. I hope you're listening to this on a hobbled together
ham radio,
like a AM radio, a hobbled together like I don't know what kind of cyberpunk future post-apocalyptic computer, like what electronic devices will they squish together to make into
like
a
hacked
PC?
Google Glass or something.
Yeah.
I hope you're all listening to this from the gay space communist future where internet chips just get it, you know, put in your head so you can always connect and everybody is happy.
Oh, I hope you're listening to this from the computer chip that's being injected into your arm when you get your COVID virus vaccine.
Yes.
Because we all know that's what's really happening when you get your vaccine for the coronavirus. Is that they're
one of my
relatives? We're calling it your COVID-19 vaccine comes free with every episode of Madoka Magicast. Preloaded, everybody. Look forward to that.
God. Yeah, one of my relatives is a hoaxer. So.
Yeah, I have like probably 80% of my family are people like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
My condolences.
Yeah.
That's hard to deal with.
Yeah. Well, I am from Florida.
Yeah.
So yes.
That was fun. That was a fun, happy.
I like this chapter a lot because
it's good.
For some reason, in hindsight, this is like such a natural progression of everything that's been happening.
It is, yeah.
But while I was reading this, I think I was so absorbed in it. And I was actually reading this while I was prepping for earlier episodes of the show. And I was so absorbed in it that I kept reading. I read ahead to this last chapter. That's how good it was. So so I read it. I had read ahead to this several episodes back, and I was so absorbed in it that I didn't see this coming at the end. Like in hindsight, it's pretty. It just makes sense for this to be how this ends with Sayaka.
Escalate this way.
Yeah. But I did not see this coming with Sayaka. Like I was too busy reading.
How'd you think they were going with it?
I didn't. Well, I wasn't thinking anything. I was just reading. I just wanted to see what was going to happen.
Nice.
You know.
Hey.
It was a page turner in that respect for me.
You know, weirdly enough, I had that experience with one of Chiyo Saito's earlier manga just recently.
Oh, cool.
I'm reading a bunch of her earlier stuff for a project that me and a friend are doing on Chiyo Saito. And I definitely had one of these moments where it was just like, holy
chewing
crap,
through it.
Page turner. Oh my god, I gotta read more.
Yeah. And I mean, that does not happen with me very often. I'm the kind of...
Neither.
I'm one of those assholes who, can't help but predict where something is going, or, I'm the asshole. I'm the asshole who turns around and asks questions during a movie if something doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's usually pretty hard for a story to keep my attention that strongly that I'm not... that my brain isn't, wandering off in that way. So that's how much I enjoyed this last chapter.
think that's kind of why we're more inclined to character-driven stories
Yeah,
like these.
yeah.
Mhm.
Because, like, plot gotchas are kind of hard when you're constantly trying to think around them and you can pretty reliably anticipate the plot anyway, it becomes kind of less interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So we're more inclined to these these character-driven things where the plot is kind of secondary to that arc that we are not as dug into predicting.
Yeah.
But I definitely did the same thing, and I was surprised to see Kyubey used this way. Like, just like he's a lot more indirect in the show, and here he's literally just, yeah, that was your fault, which is like very direct and manipulative even for him. Like, he's usually a little more underhanded than that.
And like the way that this flows, like especially this battle against Elsa Maria and the way that they're confessing to each other. Like the first, as you're reading through it, if you're like really rooting for them, in any other show, this would end with Sayaka and Mami making up and being like the best of friends afterwards, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm reading through this and, you know, it gets to this end point where, like, are you sure? Do you really want me? Like, you really want me to come back? Like, this is where I should tell you off and you win and I'm happy to know that I'm needed. And, you know, it gets to this point and then you keep reading a few more pages and Sayaka's fucking dead and a witch now, you know? And it's like, I read to the end and like, it was sinking in as you read those pages in between with Kyoko and Hitomi and Kyosuke, like, oh no, this is not going to be happy.
You know how it reads? They have that, like, happy quote, like, super, super quotes ending there where it's like, I'm glad, Mommy, and they have this, like, dead smiles moment, and you realize it's that they've both seeded this discussion. Like, they've both admitted they're not going to see eye to eye, they're just going to zoom past each other, and it's this, like, kind of sad resignation that connection's not going to be happening.
Yeah.
So I guess in that sense, when it cuts to, boom, she's a witch, it's not as much of a surprise, because that wasn't a good resolution, even though both of them smiled at the end. It was a sad one.
Is that you may not necessarily catch that on the first time around reading that. You may end up reading that as, oh, well, they do see eye to eye and take it on surface level, and then the end just kind of like plows over you.
Yeah.
And then you realize that it's bad.
They have this one moment of genuine understanding of each other, and that is what pushes Sayaka over the edge.
Yeah.
You know, that is what makes Sayaka go, wow, this was an absolutely horrible decision for me.
Yeah.
I made this decision thinking that I was going to be teaming up with this amazing hero. And not only can I not do that because I suck at it, but she isn't even an amazing hero.
She's not even the real hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sayaka's literally just sitting here being butthurt that neither of them are comic book heroes.
It's like if we can return to our like body image issues analogy, it's like learning that this person you look up to is just being photoshopped in all of the
it's all been faked.
Yeah.
It's not what you thought.
Yeah.
Which, it's literally, like, Sayaka's literally having the Santa Claus isn't real arc.
Aww. That's so sad.
like, on one hand, it's kind of sad, and on the other hand, it's like, girl, this sorry reality.
I mean, like, the thing is, had Sayaka made a decision to want to live at any point, those things could have been useful and good for her.
Yeah.
It's just that she didn't.
No. Yeah.
And, like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, well, it's all Sayaka's fault kind of thing, because that's bullshit, too. But she does have some responsibility for this ending as well.
I mean, it does touch on, like, it's interesting how the manga kind of reinterprets this, because it does become that whole... It leans into that whole, like, how do you try to save someone who's spiraling? And can you? And, I mean, especially as teenagers... And girls, that's something you deal with intimately. I mean, you still deal with it later, too, but everyone's had that experience where they have a friend who's spiraling and you don't know what to say or do to help them, and it's so easy to just make it worse by trying to help.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when, like a 15-year-old girl is trying to save 14-year-old girls and nobody's getting any fucking therapy and nobody's talking to their parents, which is another... Mm-hmm. The manga is doesn't have the parents playing his hands-on a role, so it does have that more unmoored Utena-like feeling where it's like, these kids are trying to sort out some really serious shit without any good resources.
Without any adults present to help them guide them
adults
along.
present, only Kyubey.
Yeah.
And Kyubey is not a help. No. So you kind of feel bad for them because it's like, man, how good were these odds anyway? Like, this was going to be a disaster anyway because it's a bunch of kids trying to lead a bunch of kids and they're all helping themselves off a cliff at this point.
And, it makes me sad because I'm an idealistic romantic and I can, I feel for both of them in so many ways here. A part of me does feel bad for Sayaka and can kind of see where she's coming from. But, like, Mami, like, both the position that her and Mami are in are also just so relatable at the same time,
Yeah.
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 It's almost like, I feel like Mami and Sayaka are both trying to be good people for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that's the connection they have. Like, that seems to mean everything to them, but they haven't examined why they are motivated that way. Or, how to keep up that momentum, and that's kind of where they're at, and that's kind of what they see eye to eye on, is that they both see themselves and realize that they are an artifice, but they don't know what to do about that, and just sort of off a cliff.
Well, I think what you have to do is understand that if you want to try to do good in the world, you have to remain humble.
Yeah.
And you have to know that you're not always going to be able to do it. Things aren't always going to turn out the way you want. No. You're a person with flaws. You still have to take care of yourself at the end of the day. You still gotta eat. You still gotta eat to live. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't help anyone if you don't help yourself first.
You still have to have a drop of Kyoko in you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You need some pragmatism.
Yeah. Sayaka needs to understand that it's okay to have to listen to a little bit of what Mami is saying. Like, and it's okay for Mami to admit to herself that maybe a part of me does just not want to be alone. You can do both. You can help.
You can do both.
You can help make the world better and not want to be alone at the same time.
You can also not pull a Sayaka and be like absolutely selfish and miserable when Mami actually has a growth moment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but in her position,
I know, she couldn't help it. But it's like, oh, that sucks. Poor Mami finally has that moment where she realizes that trying to be, Hero Senpai hasn't been working and has just been ruining everything. And someone just turns around and goes, no, but I want you to be Senpai. It's like, no.
Yeah, because, even though, this is a comic, right? But, Madoka is very... One of the things that I like about Madoka is that it approaches a lot of its emotional moments in a very realistic way. Like when Mami dies in the anime, the characters are upset about it for numerous episodes afterwards.
It does change who they are.
Yeah.
So good. That was actually so refreshing.
Yes, exactly.
So many things don't do that.
It leaves an impression on the entire rest of the story. So
it actually means something.
Yeah, so for the characters to have a conversation where it's like, listen, this isn't, so even though this is a comic book, but it's kind of like, this is real life. This is not a comic book. You can't be a comic book hero. If you want to actually help the world, you can't look at this and think that this is going to be a story and it's going to end up with a perfect little ending. Where everyone gets to be the hero and nobody comes out of it having done nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like magical girl stuff aside, I have literally had this conversation.
Exactly. Well, I'm a lawyer and I work in criminal law, so I have literally had this conversation too. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, being a lawyer is kind of like being a magical girl, isn't it?
Magical lawyer.
One of these ones, anyway.
If only.
Kyubey in this case.
I wish I had a cute little dress and a transformation sequence.
Yes. Yeah. That really needs to. That would make those court drawings a lot more fun.
Yes, it would.
Magical girl outfits everywhere.
Yeah. So like this is a good conversation for them to be having, but poor Sayaka just wasn't ready for it.
wasn't ready.
No.
And I actually appreciate that about it too, because the show, the movies, this all have scenarios and situations rise frequently where an attempt gets made at a progress moment, but doesn't go anywhere because the other person's not ready or they won't see eye to eye and things like that. And that's actually kind of refreshing because a lot of the time people, when these kinds of stories are written, it's almost like there's no point in writing that scene if it's not going to further their emotional arc in the story, so it doesn't get written. So whenever you see that kind of scene start in another, like, anime or something like that, you know where it's going because it always has that growth moment.
Right.
Whereas here, they will have times where it's like, nope, that didn't work at all.
Well,
No.
Which is much more human and realistic.
Like, there's no growth, and they'll have other times where
a little bit
one
of growth.
person has some growth and the other doesn't.
It's much more realistic.
Yeah.
Like, not every version of this conversation is going to go well. And in fact, most versions of this conversation you have in life will go poorly, like this.
My track record is pretty good with them, but
It's much more honest. Like, you can't just have your heartfelt, open yourself up moment and expect it to always result in a good, resolution. And Madoka owns that in a way that I think is really nice to see. And it's refreshing to see people trying and not necessarily succeeding.
Right. And making mistakes, and you get to contemplate, at what point does this person become not a good person anymore? Can you even make that judgment for some of these characters?
Done differently?
Yeah,
In the strictest sense of teaching behaviors, I think that's more beneficial too.
Yeah.
Because I think it is a problem in media sometimes, especially aimed at younger people, that because the growth moments always turn out right, you get the idea that those conversations should always succeed.
Yeah.
And I think in a sense of being honest about this, that's more helpful, and it gives you these scenes and we get to ask, okay, but what would we have done differently? How could this have gone better? Could Mommy have said something else in that moment that wouldn't have backfired? And you actually have to, you learn from the mistakes of the characters. Yeah. Which I think is actually a really good...
I mean, fiction is a really, really great teaching tool.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to experience something for it to still make an impact on you and for you to still think about it.
Right. So super, super good chapter.
Super good. Yes.
As a side note, when I've been making the YouTube videos for this manga, I have been leaving out a lot more panels lately. I've been doing a much faster, quicker version of these videos lately because I really want to encourage people to actually pick up this manga and
buy
read
them.
it.
Yeah,
because this is this is a really good manga. It's short. It's only 3 volumes. So if you have a chance to actually read this, you really should.
Not to mention, like, if you like the work, support the work.
Yeah, our podcast is not meant to be a replacement for actually consuming this media. Please go and actually read it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, please. It's
Side note.
So good.
Yeah, no, these are absolutely worth buying.
Like, yeah,
absolutely.
I don't usually do a ton of manga, and I'm enjoying these a lot.
Amanda bought them for us as a present.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was like a hint present.
Well,
like,
yeah,
but
still.
Yes.
So good.
It was great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
But yeah, no, there's even some warping on the pages.
Yeah.
From the reading it.
Oh,
which
wow.
is unusual. Yeah. These are not these are reading copies.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So super, super great chapter. I'm really excited to read the last volume. How do we want to read the last volume? Do we want to like read it chapter by chapter, or do we want to read the whole last chapter at once, or the whole last volume at once, or like for...
Do you want to do like a 2-parter on it or something? Because I think if we did the whole thing at once, it would end up being a 2-parter.
We'll have to read it, because, like, it's 3 chapters, so the chapters are longer in the 3rd volume.
Yeah.
So...
What if, like, crazy shit happens in the last one, and then it colors our understanding of, like, the early ones?
Do we want to read the finishing chapters blind?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. Like, do we want to read one chapter at a time?
Do we want to do something where one of us goes in blind, or take turns? There's 3 chapters and there's 3 of us. We could each take a chapter to go in blind on.
Oh, it looks like there's 4. It says episode 9, 10, 11, and then it says final episode.
Oh, okay. I'm an idiot. Yep.
But there are enough chapters for each of us to go in blind for one, if you think that would be interesting, to get, like, at least that way we'll have an outline, but we'll also have somebody's, like, unfiltered reactions to it.
We could do that, or another idea that just came to me is that we could all read up to episode 11 and then all do the last episode blind. Like, we'll read the last one blind. We'll do,
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll read up to you guys want to feel free to read up to the end of episode 11, and then we'll record those, and then after we're done with that, we can read the last one.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, no reading ahead. Even, no matter how...
No reading ahead.
No matter how good it is, okay?
Nope.
All right.
Restraint.
Yes.
We're edging.
Yes.
We're edging the reading
Yes.
of these chapters now. Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you for listening,
right.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I am probably going to end up reading the chapters we've marked off as okay, safe to read, like
safe to read,
like
tonight.
most likely. I'm probably going to start
Yes.
reading them tonight because I really want to see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to follow,
Thank you.
yes, if you would like to follow the podcast on social media, you can do so at Madoka Magicast on your social media platform of choice. Good news, we're now on Facebook. Did you know this?
Oh, hey.
Yes.
Ooh.
I made a page
The book face.
for the podcast on Facebook.
That's great.
Excellent.
I did that
That's great.
after I famously do not have a personal Facebook account because Facebook
Nice.
is a bad website
Agreed.
and I hate it.
I have,
Agreed.
I think I posted on mine last in 2012.
Yeah,
I
shortly
think.
after the last election, I
Yeah.
stopped
Yeah.
using Facebook and I deleted my Facebook because it's a bad website.
That's you know what? That's a good policy.
Yeah, and recently
say.
I remade a new Facebook account for the sole purpose of posting my artwork, like having a page for artwork to post on Facebook, and for like having a page for like the podcast and like making pages for that kind of stuff. So the podcast has a page now. So the URL is facebook.com/Madoka Magicast. So as with all of our other social media, go to your Facebook of choice and type in Madoka Magicast for the username. And if we are on that social media platform, that's us.
Yes.
Twitter, Tumblr,
We're not hard to find.
Facebook, wherever we are, that's us. If you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so at Lambda Power. That's my personal account, or Odd Lasdo, which is my art account.
And if you would like to follow us on Twitter, I guess. That's OHTORI_NU.
Mm-hmm.
And should you like to see our massive tome of Utena crap, it is at OHTORI.NU.
Yes.
Hooray! I guess we'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye!
Bye, friends!